project I've got for you here is a relief carving of Three Hares, which is a really old motif that you find throughout England in different places, Europe, Middle and Far East. It's one of these strange designs where you can see that the hair of one ear, the ear of one hare rather, becomes the ear of the other. So it's a very odd sort of, almost puzzly sort of motif. We had a subscriber write in to say that she was very interested in this, but had a few problems carving it. So we've picked this as a design. But coincidentally, we've had another subscriber write in to say that they were interested in actually getting into small spaces in relief carving. This can be quite tricky. So there's a technical aspect of this project that's quite interesting, is how do you get into these tiny recesses, and especially into those tight corners? And that's one thing we'll certainly be looking at. So I'm going to start the project at the beginning with my preparation, and we'll take it right through to the end where we do the waxing. The board as it stands could be a standalone carving, it go on the wall. There's also options for putting things in corners, which I'll mention later on. It could be a box lid with a frame around. It could be part of a piece of furniture. So that's really up to you. Anyway, I hope you like this carving. I think it's worked out really well. I'll put in the download, I'll put the drawing that I made, my version of this, and the tool list and so on. So happy carving. I started by getting lots of pictures off the internet or books of these three hares in their design. And they're so different. Sometimes they're clay modelled and have little features like corn or flowers in them. They go clockwise, they go anti-clockwise. Sometimes they're just paintings. We see paintings. We see, this one's got lettering around the edge, which is interesting. Here's one that's the end of a lump of tree. Somebody's done this with a chainsaw or whatever, and an Arbortech and so on. You've got the moons in here. So these are all different options. I decided not to put anything in the corners here because I thought it made it quite complicated. The other thing I noticed, of course, and I'm sure you've noticed, that the three make up the circle. So each rabbit, each hare, corresponds to 120 degrees. So I started my drawings with a piece of paper with the circle of the size of the carving that I was going to make, and this 120 degrees segment. And in that I started drawing my hair. I did many drawings. I thought about putting little things in there, but in the end I decided not to. The complicated bit was to get all the hairs matching each other. So here's my bit further on, and I'm trying to get the next hair together. And in the end I had a hair that I thought would work and photocopied it on my printer, and came up with this. And you can see I've got three versions of it that I've stuck together, and I've started to try and manipulate it a little bit to get this everything fitted. And I like the way that I was thinking about getting the tail of the hare in among the ears like that. So I like the way the lines all join together, and I like these sort of empty spaces as well. So this was a sort of cleaner version, and I'm going to put my final version, which is this one, in the download. But of course what I'd really like you to do is have a go yourself, so you can modify or even take my design and change the head, change one of the feet, so on. So make it your own a little bit. And of course you could have it going the other way if you like. I've done it circular like this, of course, so you could turn this piece of wood and do a circular pattern, leaving a rim which you could put lettering on. Or you can do what I'm doing, which is basically just add it to a piece of wood like so, and these corners are all the same, and I'm going to cut it directly into the wood without turning it, which means we're left with corners. I'm not going to do anything with them in this project, but there are all sorts of things like corner leaves and such you could put in here. So we're going to come along the flat the flat of the board and down into the recess here, into the background. So I glued my drawing onto this wood with the usual thing, with photo mount. Here it is, photo mount adhesive. Stuck this on, and the carving's pretty much ready to carve now. But there is one thing I just want to talk to you about before I show you. Can you see that this is warped, this piece of wood. I think you can see that. If I go with it like this, you can see it's wobbling. This is because the board warped. It's the centre of the tree is less wet than the outside, and the rings go this way, so the outside of the tree bends a little bit like that. It's coming this direction. So what it means is this is the side we put against the wall, and then it goes snugly against the wall when we hang this piece. If we put it this way up, this wobbles, and of course you'll see the edges. So I could flatten the back, and that's certainly an option, or we just leave it as it is, and if it's hanging on the wall, it'll be fine. You would flatten the back if it was going to be a box lid or something like that, for example. So here I am, I've got my drawing now, and I've lined it up with one of the hairs with the grain going this way, and one of the hairs going acrosswards like this. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but I thought it probably would hang with the grain going across, and therefore one of the hairs should be more visible. But you can put it any way around you want, of course. So with that, I've got my drawing on my wood, and I'm ready to begin my carving.